Hello and welcome back to the Unrehearsed Podcast. It is your host, Giselle, and I am roasting. Summer is here. Holy crap. I Today's was brutal. Today was the most brutal day that we've had in, I want to say, like a month or two. For everybody who lives in like the South, this is probably nothing to y'all, but I am dying. The temperature I think today hit like 90 something. 90 something, which is way hotter than what we normally do. I am looking forward to all of the summer activities. This has definitely kicked in my beach mode. I think we actually went to the beach side yesterday and I was like smelling the ocean and I was like, "Oh, that time is here." Like the what like smell of the water and the heat and the warm and just the sun and I was like, "Yep, beach day coming soon." Actually, I am going to be going to a beach event soon. Couple weeks, I think, from now. So I'm really excited. Beach and summer activities are always so fun. I used to hate summer because summer is hot, and I think I've started to slowly grow into it. Also, I did want to mention that we do have an updated number from our guest last week. The total amount of hats has finally been confirmed, and the number is 854 hats, which is crazy. I'm sorry. What? I don't even think I have 854 grams of like rice. I don't know. It's just like that just sounds like such an insane number to me. But I guess that when you've been collecting as long as he has, it would make more sense. Really still think that we should push, push, push to get this guy to 1,000. Everybody tag that episode. I want to see him get to 1,000 so bad now because I feel like you're just so close. You're so close to like pushing it over the edge, like 100, less than 150. I think we could totally do it. We could totally do it. But now that he does have, a tracker, I feel like I can ask him more often. Like, when was your last like hat purchase? Have you made it to 1,000? I don't know. It seems like you're kind of slacking. So I'm really excited to see what his 1,000th hat is going to be. Because that would be really cool and special. And I don't know, maybe I have gears turning now. Actually, that's a really good point. And I think that we can make something special happen for his 1,000th. I just have to think how long that's gonna be and if I will actually remember. So, but yeah, 854 hats was the final total count for his collection. Uh, some of them that he still hasn't worn, as from what he said last week, which is insane. It's insane, but really cool collection, and it was such a fun episode. I'm like, if you haven't caught that episode, definitely go back and watch it, because it was a really fun episode to just kind of chill, talk about cars and hats and nonsense like we do nonsense like we do every day. So yeah, this weekend I had a little bit of a cool little trip that I was not expecting. We ended up going to San Francisco. I was invited to a an exhibit, which was so cool. It was the Bruce Lee exhibit at the Chinese Historical Society in San Francisco. So cool. Enjoy that episode on Ellie Odyssey this week because it was such a fun experience. I had a really good time. But the stories that came out of that and then the following things that happened for the rest of the week is what I want to talk about today. Um, a lot of the story that he was going through was his personal connection. The person that we met was actually like he was the docent there, but he was also like a really big contributor to like a lot of the pieces that he has collected of Bruce Lee's in years. So it was really cool to actually be able to see his side and see his connection and also just like admire how much inspiration he drew from him. My favorite part of the whole thing was at the very end, he kind of just wanted to just tell us about what his personal connection was to Bruce Lee. Um, and I think that it raised a really important question for me. which is how many people do we still have that we look up to or are inspired by? Um, I got the sense that he very much still our docent is still very much was drawing a lot of his inspiration from him. I think he still very much looks up to him. And even though that inspiration and that like looking up to him started when he was a kid, I feel like it's so cool when you can bring something like that all the way through your entire life and into your adulthood and still be able to look back at that person or back at that, you know, that model, that model, that mentor, that, idea of a person, and kind of base your life off of their good qualities. We have a Discord group that I am a part of, from some games and things that we play, and, um, we really we started getting into, like, the D&D, um thing about they have a DMD server or like a channel on their server. And so I was like, "Okay, well, this sounds fun." I've heard of DMD. I'm just gonna try it. Like I've always been curious because I really love games. That is I don't know if anybody knows that about me, but I love board games. Board games and role-playing games and just like all these like video games, like all of those games, things that like you can be interactive with, be creative with, be strategic with. I love doing those. Those like having those moments, having those games around. Used to have like a bookshelf full of games, and we would play them often. And this is kind of like you don't really need any of that. You can just you can just be on Discord and like be a be a whatever you're gonna be. So I took a really I don't know, it took a bit to try and figure out who my character was going to be. And I started kind of piecing together all of these things and I was like, okay, well this sounds cool and this sounds cool and like let me just add like all of these like character points, right? Like who this character is going to be. And I realized like how much I loved my character like instantly. And I was like, why am I so obsessed with her? And I realized it was because I created someone who I would aspire to be. And I was like, "Oh my god." Like, this is that connection. Like, I don't it clicked in my brain that I was like, "Do I" like, we especially, like, with, people of color, with people who, like, we've always had, like, that some movie comes out with a character that is like one of us and we're just like, "Oh my god, we finally have one." Right? And it's just so cool to be able to see that played out on the screen, right? And it doesn't necessarily all have to be like I'm not race specifying this particular inspiration, but I'm just saying like there are things that spark our inspiration with people. Um when we see them. First thing for me, or especially, like, for kids, I would say, like, if they look like you, it's that will become important to them, right? That character is connected to them. Watching, like, Disney movies that have, like, Hispanic characters, like Encanto, they're obviously not Nicaraguan, but, like, Hispanic, like, characters, movies, things like that. I always, like, watch these things, and I'm just like, it's nice to see my culture being played out in somewhere that I'm, not in, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Intimately. That I'm not intimately, like, in, right? In a room that I'm not intimately in or a part of. Like, this is something that I can watch on screen and be like, "Oh, see? This is normal." That's normal. That looks normal. Like, that looks like what my day looked like every day for years. Um So it's cool to have that connection, um, but does like, that representation, I feel like, isn't just like it's sure, representation, but what about the inspiration behind it, right? I feel like the inspiration that comes from a character, to me, doesn't stop where we are. Like, I feel like where we what we look like, what we who we are, I feel like that comes from, like, a completely different place. And what I'm trying to get at, because I feel like I'm circling here. What I'm trying to get at is that when we get inspired by somebody, I feel like it's because of something that our heart already kind of like aches for, or just like I would say if I was inspired by Bruce Lee, because his story is really inspirational, and who he was, as I learned, who he um, was just like a really good person. And leaving that exhibit, I was like, you are inspired by this person because of who he was and how he treated people and, all these things, right? So I feel like it doesn't just stop where what we look like. It doesn't just stop with who we are. It goes so much further than that. But I think that visual representation can get us somewhere closer. Like somewhere closer in where I feel like it just opens the door. The familiarity is there, right? The familiarity is there, and I think that for our docent was his main like draw, right? I feel like that's what drew him, and it was just like I remember him saying like I wasn't proud to say that I was like a Chinese American, right? Because he went to, they moved out of Chinatown and he was not surrounded by everybody who looked like him. And so he was like, I wasn't proud to say that I was Chinese American until, I had this person to look up to. Um, and I love that. I think that was so like there is a place where it's just like you look like me and you did all of these amazing things. But I just feel like I was thinking a lot about who I am inspired by now as an adult. I feel like it's easier, as a kid to be like, oh, all these people, all these grown-ups that like did all these things and like have done all these things. When you're a child, everybody has done more than you. Everyone has done all these adults, all these role models, all these people, all these, inspirational speakers, they've all done so much more than you. So it's easy to pick one. But I feel like now, as an adult, we have so much more experience and we have done so much more. So what does that look like? Like who are we drawing inspiration from? Like who are we aspiring to continue to be? Because I haven't had, like, an inspirational model in a really long time. Like, there wasn't ever somebody that I, like, looked up to. I wanna say it's been, like, at least 10 years where I've been like, "Oh my god, look at this person. They do everything." And I'm not talking about and this is what I'm, like, trying to also say. I'm not talking about looks because everybody has, like, a look, a thing they wanna look like, I'm talking about who you are as a person in this world. Who do you get inspired by? Because I think that is so important. Like, it fell off of my map. Like, it fell off of my brain, and I never even like knew that it did. I like stopped being inspired by people, and people have really inspirational stories, as we've seen on this podcast. I've gotten to talk to a lot of people who do a lot of inspiring things, but you can be inspired and then not want to be like them, right? So it's like, I feel like there is a piece in our lives that is just like, who? I mean, like a lot of people, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people don't ever talk about that. And it's surprising to me because I feel like we should always be trying to grow into someone better. Is it because when we become adults, we like stop building or like stop wanting to like be someone? I don't like it's just a really interesting thing. And there's just so many layers to that because again, like culturally, aesthetically, personality wise, like all of these things matter and all of these things play a part in like who we would want to be. But it was just so cool to see that. I mean, it was cool to make the connection this week. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I would love to hear what you guys have brewing. Do you guys still get inspired by people? Inspired, but also do you like try to emulate someone? Is there someone out there who you think like, damn, they really have it all together? I'd love to be that person. I remember when I was and this is again because the entirety of like the world was older and more established than me as a young teenager. It just, like, it was easy. It was easy to be like, "Oh, I'd love to do all the things that that person does and have their life and be that person." Um, when I was a teenager and I had my first job, and it was at a pet store and pet supermarket, if anybody pet supermarket, if anyone is curious, in Florida, in, Homestead, Florida. And there was a woman who would come in with her 2 sons. Little kids, but she would come in so, like, well dressed, and I'm not talking about, like, in a freaking evening ball gown. I'm saying, like, looked like she worked at a law office or just some kind of business something. She would always have, like, a business, like, suit on, like a skirt, like a business skirt with, like, a blazer or, like, something along those lines. She was always very well dressed, and she was always, like, makeuped, hair put together nice, like she had just come from work, and she would come in with her 2 kids, and the kids would you could tell that she loved these freaking kids, and, like, they would go and they'd pick out some stuff for their pets, and then, like, whatever, I think at some point, she bought the youngest a hamster and, like, so they were reoccurringly coming into this store, and every time I would see her, I'd be like, "God, she, like, looks like she's all put together." Um, and we would chat every once in a while when we would when it was slow or she'd have time or the kids were looking at, birds or whatever it was. And it was just always like this person is just so put together and they're so just genuinely nice and kind, and you can tell that she has that about her, like, that's just part of who she is. Um, so it was always just like, "Oh, like, I would love to be her." It's kinda like, I asked Matt a really long time ago, like, who his, like, guy crush is, right? Like, if you had, like, a girl crush, right? It was just like, who would I want to be, right? Like, who would, like, just like, "Oh, I love her so much," right? Because of who she is. I asked him once, and I remember him giving me an answer or whatever, but I feel like that's what it is. It's like, who would we want to be? Like, who would we like, where you see and obviously everything's, behind closed doors, who knows, right? But I'm just saying, like, it doesn't take away from the inspiration, and it doesn't take away from, like, who you would want to change into or who you would want to build into, your life into, who you would aspire to be, who you would change, little aspects of yourself to try to be better, to try to get to this place. Um, so yeah, I think that my character my character in D&D, did pretty much just she's just so simple. She's so simple, and I feel like it doesn't have to be super complicated. It's just, like, she's simple, and she's kind, and she's kinda fearless, and not in, like, a stupid way, just kinda like I can do this and I'll handle it. It's just I don't know, and maybe I do have aspects of that. I mean, there is, like, a very much like a mirror, right? I mean, I feel like if you aspire to be someone or someone's really inspiring you, I feel like it's probably because you have some of that in you somewhere, and that is something that you want to develop on your own. Um, but I think that that is, yeah. That's been rolling around in my brain. I don't know. I don't know if you guys if you guys feel the same way about this particular topic, but I just thought it was really interesting because I don't know that anybody aspires to be anybody anymore. Is that just like individual? Is that just something that like you're just like, no, I'm good the way I am, and no one wants like I'm never gonna change for anyone or anything or like because of anything? Or do you guys just like self-inspire yourselves? Like I want to be more XYZ, so I'm just gonna work on that. I don't know. I don't know, but I'd like to know. I'd like to know. It's like one of those like roadmap things. Tell me what you think because for me, I think it's really nice to like model yourself after someone who's already done it before, who's been there, right? Like who's already kind of carved the way and has given you a little bit of a roadmap of like this is what that looks like in real life. Like this is what this looks like in like true form. Like, out in the real world where this person has interacted with their with themselves forever. I think that this is also why grandparents and grandparents just in general, parents and grandparents are just so important. Because as we get older, we feel like, maybe there's nobody there is people. There's people, there's older people than you who have done way more than you. As long as you can, like, open your little eyes and, like, check around and see, um, because I feel like they have it's that wisdom. It's the wisdom that gets passed down, and I think that that's also part of it. It's the wisdom that that person that you aspire to be has kind of, like, carved the way and shown you or taught you indirectly or directly. So yeah, that's my that's my rant for this week. Um, I did not expect such an introspective, view into that particular aspect, when I went to the Bruce Lee exhibit, and then just thought, I don't know, I feel like it's really funny how things just kind of, like, all click together. I think that there's a reason why things happen, and if you take a just hot second to watch and observe and pick up and make connections, I think that there will be more. There are more. There is more than just, I don't know. It's being present. It's being present, and I think that that is what brought me this particular this particular topic. Is otherwise it would have just been like, oh, he's cute story, bye, Like, cute story. I'm gonna move on. I don't like, and I'm not saying that every single thing has to have a meaning. But I think that we can draw a lot of meaning from seemingly meaningless things. Am I going to remember the Bruce Lee exhibit when I'm 70? Maybe, maybe not. But I think I have a higher chance of doing that if I have connected it to something else that seems a lot more important and a lot more longevitable. Is that a word? Anyway, if you guys do have mentors or people who you are inspired by, I want them on my podcast. I did also get a lot of responses from the people, like my friends specifically, who just know Bert, who were like, I wanted to be on your podcast. Well, come on. Like, come on the podcast. No one is stopping you. Just come and sit down. Also, roast with me because holy crap, you can ask Bert about this. This studio is so hot. Anyway, someone please send me an AC unit that doesn't make a lot of noise so that I don't have to like sweat through. And this is my workout. This is my workout. I don't need to do anything. Also, um, yeah, maybe I don't know, a quiet fan. A quiet fan or a quiet AC. That's what my brain is asking for. Anyway, I love you all so much and I am so happy that you guys sit here and listen to my rants. And also just kind of like play these ideas with me because I think that that's really what it is just being able to this is a one-sided conversation, but I would love to have a two-sided conversation if you would join me. But just having a conversation about these, like, topics that I feel like nobody really talks about because we can, and because it, like, widens our horizons, our minds and our perspectives, and that's what I love most about it. So I hope to catch you guys here next week. I love you all so much. Mwah! See you later. Bye.